Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, how is everyone doing today?
Great. How are you?
Good. This is such an exciting time. So I'm just going to open it up with a few greetings and then Mr. Pike, I'm going to turn it over. Hi, Herman, and hi, Karen, and I can't pronounce your name.
Natalia.
Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. I know you all are going to present some exciting information to us today. So let me first say greetings to the city of South Fulton and residents that have joined us today. This is an exciting time, and I've waited until the 25th of August since our last meeting. What was that, last month, I believe it is, where we had residents that joined us and we talked about some new plans for our town center that's coming to the Wolf Creek area. So tonight, you all gave your feedback last month, and tonight we're going to be really unveiling the plans of what is proposed to be planned for this location. So I don't know if you're excited as I am, but I am ready and eager to get this party started. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Pike. And will we be taking questions towards the end? Is that our plan, Mr. Pike?
Yes, ma'am. It'll be very similar. We'll actually be getting some more feedback. So we're going to unveil some things this evening, but still get some more feedback so we can tweak the plan more. So I think Herman and his team might be looking for a round 3 of this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we will be taking questions from constituents and citizens today.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Residents, please make sure you're tuning in and staying very engaged of what we're about to present to you. And please present your questions because this is the time to do it. I am going to go ahead and take my camera off and I'm turning it over to you, Mr. Pike. And thank you all for doing this.
Absolutely. Well, Councilwoman Gumbs, thank you very much for the opportunity. We've been working on this project. Now it seems like 2 or 3 years, close to it at any rate. And so we're really excited. When I first came to the city of South Fulton, I knew that the mayor and council and the citizens really wanted to identify where the city center was going to be. We went through a year-long process with our economic development strategic plan. Through that plan, we identified 9 development nodes throughout the city. In all the districts. And so there'll be developments that happen everywhere in our city. But one of the things that we wanted to do in that strategic plan was identify where our town center was going to be. And I think after a lot of community input, a lot of feedback, it was determined that we would do a town center development off of Camp Creek Parkway. And so Councilwoman Gumbs hosted our first town hall, our town center town hall a month ago. We got a lot of feedback from the citizens who were engaged. So it gave us an opportunity to really sit down and think about how do we be thoughtful about creating a site plan that encompasses all the things that we've heard from the citizens. And so Herman and his team with Tate Hansen have been working with us on this project since the beginning. They have been really thoughtful about how to engage our citizens and how to make sure that we get all the feedback that we possibly can so that we can have the best plan that we can. And so at this point, I want to turn it over to Herman and his team so they can go into some of their methodology and some of the things that they use to determine how this vision would come to fruition that the citizens and the mayor and council have for the town center. So Herman, if you would.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Christopher Pike, and also Councilwoman Gumbs. Thank you so much for the opportunity to work with you and to work with the city of South Fulton. It's been extremely enjoyable, very exciting, and we're having just a wonderful time. And as Chris Pike was saying, we've been able to do something of an analysis with the site, understanding the history, understanding some of the things that are man-made as well as natural, and begin to look at what might comprise and make up for a town center. With that, we've had a lot of opportunity to look at different programs from cultural to commercial and retail, mixed use, residential, outdoor space, and green space. And we've also been looking at, well, what are some of the other cities doing, especially with the town centers and cultural centers that have been coming online recently. We've been able to get a lot of really good information. And what I would like to do at this point is introduce our team members, two of our senior designers that have been working on the project. That's Deb Malia and Karen. And Karen is going to walk us through where we're at. And most importantly, just invite comments, invite opportunities for you guys to see, as well as just really sort of embrace the process. We would love to be able to come back to you after this presentation with something that's a little bit closer to some of the things that we've been able to capture, as well as envision and put together towards a town center design and plan. We understand that while we're early, things may still have the opportunity to be tweaked and to be modified some. So this is really, again, building upon a vision plan in terms of what a direction might go. And with that, I would love to turn things over to you, Karen.
Hello, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well today. I'd like to start by thanking Councilwoman Gumbs and Mr. Pike for this opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then we can get started with the presentation. So just a couple of things before we get started. We want this to be extremely interactive and also be able to gain as much as input as possible from everybody who's plugging in today. So we're going to go through a couple of slides that talk about how you can be extremely involved in this presentation. First thing is, if you're joining with your screens, you don't have to do a whole lot. You're going to be looking at buttons and icons that you can click and ask your questions or input your comments on. But if you are joining with your mobile phone, you can open the camera app and you can scan the QR code that is going to appear on the next slide. And this QR code will take you to this presentation. And in every slide, there's going to be a Ask a Question button, which you can click on to ask your question, record your comment, or any idea that you come across as you're hearing me present. Last time around, we had a lot of citizen feedback that we had received. So the goal of this presentation is for us to present it as a follow-up on what we've come up with so far. And we will have a Q&A towards the end. So make sure to keep asking your questions throughout the presentation. I will stop on this slide for a minute so that everybody can scan your QR code and log on to this presentation. This helps us to keep a record of every question and every comment that you have so that we can have that with us to analyze and address as we move forward with this visioning process. I'm going to stay on this for 10 more seconds, and then I'll move on to the next slide. At any point throughout the presentation, you can still log into ahaslides.com/town center, and then you would be able to access the presentation. So our goal for this presentation is to present our ideas as a follow-up to the previous town hall that we had. We aim to collect your feedback by way of questions and comments. So please use the Ask a Question button to input your questions and your comments so that we have a record of that. We have been working on some preliminary approaches based on the feedback we received last time. So we're going to present that, and we're extremely excited. We need your input on things that we are presenting today, whether you like or you dislike, or anything that is critical that still needs to be addressed, so that we can work with you in creating a comprehensive plan. So help us by recording your thoughts and questions throughout the presentation. So brief recap on where we left things last time around. These are some of the thoughts that were the highest polled in the questions that we asked and the comments that we received. So some of the key improvements that were needed in the area that we are looking at were a variety of retail establishments and restaurants. We needed to look at traffic mitigation strategies, accessible multi-use trails and pedestrian mobility enhancements, conserve the existing natural context and promote more parks and green spaces, bring in a cultural program to celebrate the Wolf Creek Amphitheater and just the potential of the area, and safety and security enhancements to the site. We also recorded a highest poll on some of the key programs that everybody was asking us to explore, and those were restaurants, a city hall, retail, parks, public safety, and museums. The top 5 town center elements that everybody polled on to focus on was dining, bringing in more arts and culture, of course, retail. Upscale retail had a high poll, parks and streetscape, entertainment, and programs of residential. We did ask a question about what were the kinds of museums that you wanted to see, and the highest polled last time around was music, earth and science, and history. Apart from that, you did give us 64 plus different kinds of programs that we are thinking about as we go through this visioning process. So this was, last time it was extremely helpful for us to just go and get inspired and work on a preliminary approach on what could be City of South Fulton's town center. Just to refresh everybody on the site location and overall connections, the site is located south of the Van Divers Lake, home to the Wolf Creek Amphitheater. It's a 200+ acre site. So that is an aerial image that shows the rough boundaries that we are taking into consideration for this preliminary approach. The site that is called out as Cultural Center is the home to the Wolf Creek Amphitheater, but really the big part of this area is that its potential to establish and amplify the connections, both vehicular and both pedestrian. The green dotted lines that you're able to see are just our idea of diagramming what could be pedestrian connections that connect the site to the existing assets, both nature and man-made, that are already there. Then we asked ourselves, what can a master plan for a town center begin to look like? And in order for us to come up with a framework, we had to bring in design districts, which kind of grouped all the different programming that could be possible in this area into certain categories. And the overall categories that we're looking at are residential, government, education, entertainment, and we see the ecological aspect of the site as a connector for all this different programming, and how we address this in relationship to how traffic can be mitigated and more parking opportunities can be captured on the site. We want to create synergy in developing this framework, and some of the key aspects that we are considering in going about laying out a program for the site are mainly the access roads, Enon and Merck, as they come off of Camp Creek Parkway, the boulevard that is already existing, Sanford J. Jones, the Wolf Creek Amphitheater, the Wolf Creek Library, Camp Creek and the Aero ATL Greenway extension, the landfill park, and Van Divers Lake. All of these elements really help us build a cohesive site plan that can begin to represent the programming that everybody wants to see. This is just an ideas board of our process, our different iterations, which we did over the course of the time since our last town hall to come up with an approach that we can present to you. We started looking at what can our master plan zones begin to look like. We know that there is a Wolf Creek Amphitheater that is a very strong cultural focal point, so our cultural center could potentially be zoned around the Wolf Creek Amphitheater. A city hall or a public safety headquarters would need primary access from a street, so we thought Enon Road would be the best location to bring that access to a government program and kind of anchor that edge of the master plan. We want to be able to capture retail along the streets so as to activate the communication with the public and really create a walkable, bikeable, and safe street in all of our access roads that we have right now. The mixed use program, everything in orange that you're seeing, is a potential for us to capture the varied programming ideas that you have given us with retail, with restaurants, with residential, with just bringing it and making it a people-focused place. And the three main roads that are existing are Enon Road, Merck Road, and Sanford J. Jones Boulevard. Apart from this, there can be potential to capture new roads that bring new connections and really ease mobility through the entire site. This is our preliminary master plan approach. Just to walk you through our ideas, like I begin to say, the Wolf Creek Amphitheater is the cultural focal point that we are kind of identifying in this plan. And from there spans all of our cultural elements, starting from the museums, a central pavilion for people to access all of this program to, and then a music museum. So we wanted to flank the pavilion with 2 museums. And we are also looking at an indoor venue, which can be connected to the music museum, and retail along the boulevard so as to activate the boulevard to its maximum potential and make it extremely pedestrian focused and walkable. Everywhere where you're seeing mix is a potential for us to capture mixed use. That could be ground floor retail with some residences above. The City Hall has its own anchoring in the site where it kind of takes precedence and creates its own sequence where it has this frontage to a grand green court that could be a public court for people to congregate in. And really the site plan is focused on creating a place that is walkable, that is bikeable, and that is approachable by everybody in the city of South Fulton. Just a reminder to record your questions and comments by clicking on Ask a Question in every slide that you come across. With the site plan, with the preliminary approach to the site plan, we identified what can be our parking opportunities, because with all of this programming, where can we really sneak in those parking decks that are required so that we can mitigate the traffic. The big idea being for encouraging citizens to park and walk to access all of these programs. And this is a diagram that begins to show where can potential parking opportunities happen in the site plan. With this presentation, we wanted to address a big concern that was the highest polled in our previous town hall, which was traffic mitigation. One of the biggest things to come up with strategies for traffic mitigation is widening of the streets that are already there. Enon Road and Merck Road and Sanford J. Jones Boulevard are all existing streets that have the potential to be widened. So we took a stab at what can that widened street module begin to look like as it celebrates the idea to enhance pedestrian mobility in this region. Currently, right now, Enon and Merck and even Sanford J. Jones Boulevard, this is the street profile that is existing. There's hardly any sidewalk. There are 2 lanes for traffic, and hence it creates a bottleneck for heavy vehicular flow. Imagine Enon and Merck Road expanded with 2 lanes of traffic on either side, a bike-focused lane, 3 lanes and street furniture, and a comfortable sidewalk that kind of responds to the programming that is being proposed and really makes the street something that people can walk, people can bike in, and for people to congregate in. Some of the images that begin to resonate with the ideas that we've come up with for the street are down below for you to look at. We did a similar approach for Sanford J. Jones, because Sanford J. Jones Boulevard also takes a similar profile. Because it's a boulevard, we wanted to celebrate the essence of a boulevard, which is slowed down traffic. It's more of a shared street, which can be converted over the weekends into a farmer's market. So what we thought was, maybe it's a central median, a tree-lined median that kind of celebrates and breaks down. And it's a 2-way street with dedicated bike lanes, street furniture, signage, bike racks, and flanked by programming on either side that kind of begins to create the town center that we are envisioning for the city of South Fulton. Both these modules begin to cater to creating a favorable and an accessible street that champions pedestrian mobility. We also looked at precedents of similar efforts for inspiration, as Herman was mentioning in the very beginning. So here are a few. We looked at Sandy Springs' city center, or it's also called City Springs, just to understand how can different programming be brought in and be intertwined with green space and pedestrian-focused spaces. This is the Sandy Springs Performing Arts Center, which is anchored by a central lawn that is more people-focused for people to congregate in. We looked at Alpharetta City Center, and similar aspects like the Sandy Springs City Center you can begin to see in the Alpharetta City Center. Of course, the biggest element here is the City Hall that is the central point of focus. And we also explored how can we begin to dream about retail and entertainment being a part of this master plan. So these are some images of Avalon and the Battery that we begin to look at. So this is kind of at the end of our presentation right now, but I want to ask everybody, are there other examples of city centers and town centers and other developments that you have been inspired by that you think would be a great cue for us as we go forward with this process of master planning this site? So you will be able to enter your comments in the slide, and we'll have a recorded version of all of your answers with us as we proceed. I will stay on this for a minute. This is towards the end of our presentation, so if you were able to record your questions, we would have a copy of that, so we can move into a Q&A shortly after this, and we can have that Q&A happen. I will stay on for 10 more seconds, and then we will move into the Q&A. Great. Thank you, everybody, for these suggestions. Thank you so very much for participating. We have your input to guide us in this visioning process. Mr. Pike, we can take some questions now. So I'm going to moderate some of the questions that we've received. And then after a couple of questions, maybe I can turn things over to Ms. Joy to moderate some of her questions as well. So the first question is, has the land for the town center already been acquired? Was it owned by Fulton County or private citizens? Mr. Pike?
Yes, great question. That's actually property that is in transition from the county to the city. So it was county-owned property that is transitioning to the city of South Fulton.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Pike. Next question is residential over retail part of the plan? Yes. For now, we are exploring the idea to create ground floor retail and potentially have a residential program above the retail. What will become of the transfer station in the area that says landfill park? There are a lot of precedents that we explored that look at transforming a landfill into parkscape that can be accessed by the citizens. It is a much deeper conversation that we would have to engage in, but there is a possibility that it can become, that it can be programmed towards usable space. And I'll also ask Mr. Pike to chime in on this if he has any additional comments.
No, I think your comments were right on spot. We're definitely looking at some opportunities to put that into a usable state. But obviously there's a lot of things that go into using former landfill space for recreational purposes and things like that.
Great. Will streetlights and sidewalks come to Enon and Merck Road? That is the intention for road enhancements and widening, but I will defer to Mr. Pike on that.
All of that will be planned for the town center project. So, our goal, one of our number one objectives is to make this very connected and very walkable. So obviously that's going to include sidewalks and lighting and other pedestrian safe means of transportation. So definitely those will be things that we will look at as we expand the area.
We are exploring access to Camp Creek on how we can connect and create pedestrian paths and trails that connect to the creek, and also potentially connect to the planned greenway that is part of the Aero ATO master plan. Is it in the vision to keep Enon Road tree-lined? It is. If Enon Road does have quite a few trees that line up the road, so that we would look at enhancements to the street as it currently stands. What is the environmental impact of such a large area? That is a great question, Mr. James. We are in the very preliminary stages of our visioning process. As we move forward, we are going to be engaging specialists who are going to inform us on this so that we can, in the best interest of the natural context that is there, put forward an approach that addresses this. Mr. Pike, if you have any additional comments to add to that.
No, I think you were spot on and hit the nail on the head with that. I will say that there are some questions on the YouTube feed
Okay.
as well. So we might want to get to some of those just so we make sure we're addressing everyone that
Definitely.
may not be plugged into the system. One of the questions is, does the entertainment include places like Dave and Buster's, bowling, Round One, etc.? I think we're looking at all options as it relates to entertainment. I think it's a little premature to identify specific types of brands of entertainment, but definitely we're looking at all options to make this a opportunity that lends itself to all different types of entertainment for families and individuals.
Great. So is a skateboard BMX park in the plan? That is a great idea. We will consider it. I will turn things over to Ms. Joy because she said she was going to moderate some extra questions that were coming in the YouTube feed. So Ms. Joy, I will yield the floor to you.
Okay, everyone, can you hear me? I will
Yes.
be allowing the questions to pop up on the screen. And so, is the location drawing just presented accessible on the City of South Fulton's website?
It currently is not, because we have just discussed it today. So we will be looking to provide that information after this presentation.
Will golf carts be allowed?
Great question. We get asked that a lot. I think that will be something that comes out as we get more in depth in the planning. There will probably be some opportunities to discuss golf carts.
This is just a comment. Lots of Tamarack safe circular area for kids and a space for live improv music is suggested. Also, we need to make sure we include facilities and activities for teens and young adults as well. And there were several constituents that agreed. District 2 has the most higher end residences and higher property taxes. What other areas will have this type of development or any type of development?
That's a great question. As I had mentioned earlier when we opened up the presentation, I alluded to the economic development strategic plan that we have. In that strategic plan, it identified 9 development areas throughout the city. So there'll be 8 areas that we'll focus on with similar type programming and development. That is, there's a district in each of the, or there's a development area in each of the council districts. So there'll be plenty of opportunity for people to have access to amenities and other types of development.
Concerns about the landfill. How close is the landfill and when is the landfill closing? The ethane is burning off.
Well, the landfill has been closed for some time, and it is close to the landfill. What will happen throughout the process of this as we go and do more in-depth exploration and more in-depth study, we'll actually be looking at some of those things. So environmentals and all of that will be done to make sure that we are in compliance with all of the regulations that need to take place. So we're definitely aware of those concerns and issues.
Does the entertainment include a place like Dave and Buster's, bowling, Round One, etc.?
Yes, that was the question that I had answered earlier. We definitely will be looking to have those types of entertainment in the district. What specific brands those will be, it's really too early to determine at this point, but we definitely intend to have that level of activity in the district.
What is the impact on the estimated regular traffic flow if there's a concert happening at Wolf Creek? Does mixed use mean apartments, and will this potentially be MARTA accessible?
That's a great question. So obviously, when we're going through the planning process, as we'd mentioned earlier, traffic flow will definitely be a big part of that. We have been in conversations with Herman and Karen and their group about understanding what traffic flow needs to happen, understanding how, we are aware that when there's an event at Wolf Creek Amphitheater, that's going to put a specific demand on traffic. So we're definitely taking all of that into account. And so once we have the more in-depth version of the site plan, we will definitely make sure that those items are addressed.
What is the timetable for this project?
Well, I will say that we have requested funding in the fiscal 22 year budget for economic development. That money that we are requesting would be to finish out the rest of the in-depth planning that we need to have. Our goal is to, by the end of the fiscal year or around this time next year, is to have an RFP put together for the potential to bring on a master developer. And so we anticipate that working with the mayor and the council, that we can have a team that's been identified this time next year to move the project forward. I will say that's a pretty aggressive timeline. I would like to say that, these things do take time. For example, one of the examples that Karen used was the Sandy Springs Town Center. It took them 12 years to do that project. So I don't anticipate that it'll take us that long, because we've put a lot of the foundational things in place that we need to make it move faster than that. But it's definitely, I would say a 3 to 6 year project. And that's being pretty aggressive.
I'm sorry, I was having technical difficulties. What was the response to activities for teens and young adults?
At this point, we're looking at all type of programming. Someone asked a similar question about Dave and Buster's and some other activities. I think we recognize that there aren't many family-oriented or teen and young adult activities in the city. And so all of those will be addressed. It's a little early for us to talk about specific what types of businesses will be in the town center, but we understand the different types of companies that will be.
That was the last question for the Q&A. So you can take over, Mr. Pike.
Well, Councilwoman Gumbs, that really concludes our second town hall. That was a lot shorter than the first one.
It was, but very exciting. And I definitely love the question about the golf carts. That's one of my dreams, and hopefully, everybody else can kind of buy into it. And I definitely hear the residents as far as, activities. So there's a whole vision and process, again, that we will continue with the residents in District 2. Now, Mr. Pike, is there a way, if they were not able to share some of their thoughts and concerns, who they can email to just kind of chime in on this? Because I know some people will look at this afterwards, and I want to make sure that there's an opportunity for them to kind of share their thoughts.
Sure. And Karen, you can correct me if I'm wrong. If someone's watching this video after this, that code will still work and they can submit their responses from the video. It will still be live. Is that correct?
The code and the presentation will not be accessible, but
Okay.
as part of the video, can I go ahead and share my screen once again? That shows an email, a contact that you can reach out to with your comments, with your questions. Give me just 1 second. I'll go to the screen. So you can reach out to DSF at cityofsouthfultonga.gov. And this contact can be used to record your questions, your comments, and ideas, and the city will be receiving them directly and will be recording it. And this slide will be a part of the recorded presentation video in Councilwoman Gumbs's web pages.
Awesome, awesome. So again, I hope that everyone is excited and engaged in this process. Again, we are doing our best to make sure that residents are able to weigh in and give their thoughts on what they think the town center should be and what it should have. So I will encourage you all, if your neighbors have missed this chat, to share it with them so they can also take a look at the renderings and what was revealed tonight on this town hall. So again, thank you, Mr. Pike, for all the work that you're doing. We're super excited about the future of the city of South Fulton, and we want to continue to keep moving this along. So is there anything, last things you need to say to get us all excited still?
Well, I think if we had any more excitement tonight, we probably wouldn't be able to stand it. So I just want to thank you again for allowing us to participate in this process. We're definitely really excited about what this is going to mean for our city moving forward. It's definitely, I will say we've moved the needle faster than most new cities in the state. So I think that the residents can really feel confident that, we have thoughtful leadership that understands what the residents want and when they want it. So it's definitely been a fast process, and so we intend to keep it moving fast.
Awesome. And are you saying that it may be a part 3 to this?
I think as we get more and we delve down more into some more of the comments, especially with the specifics of the types of programming, I think what we may do is come back at a later time and bring some more updated information. As we get through the new budget, we'll be doing some more of the environmental things and things that will be needed to make some more concrete decisions about specifically where things are going to go. And so I think that will warrant another session.
Awesome, awesome. Well, again, thank you so much, Mr. Pike. And again, thank you to all of the residents that attended tonight. Again, look out for the city of South Fulton and all the great things that are happening in our neighborhood. If you have any questions or concerns, certainly you can reach out to Mr. Pike. You can reach out to myself, or you can also share your thoughts at dsf@cityofsouthfulton.gov. Is that right? That's
Yep.
right.
No, it's dsf@cityofsouthfultonga.gov.
Oh, okay. That's what I was about to say. dsf@cityofsouthfultonga.gov. Okay.
Correct. Yep.
All right. We're looking for your input, and please stay engaged. And if there are any questions at all, please make sure you reach out to your leadership. I want to thank you
and just
all.
one more.
Okay, I'm sorry.
My apologies. I just wanted to again thank Herman and Tate Hansen with Tate Hansen and his group for the work that they've done to help us get this far along in the program.
I would definitely agree with that. He has been around for quite some time now, so he's part of the family. So again, thank you, Herman and your team, and to everyone that joined tonight. Good night, and thank you for joining. Have a good evening.